God forbid that I should look for an excuse to practice that which is wrong. That's when eventually you want to mature to the point to where you are not falling for the same things. You're not erring in the same way. It's actually going to show you that you're growing up. I'm maturing in this thing. Now, as babes, you know, babes fall. How many know that's right? So you're not looking from a baby Christian the same thing you're looking for from a mature Christian. How many agree with that? See, once you reach a level of maturity, according to Paul, you should have the ability to lay certain childish things aside. Watch this, including wanting to be like sinners. You ain't saved enough that you don't no longer want to be like that sinner. Who do you pattern yourself after? She said you got to practice righteousness. You got to practice it. There's some of us practice righteousness at the church, but it's not the same thing we practicing at the house. And I don't want you confused. I love you too much. I want you to know whether you're a child of God or whether you're a child of the devil. If you're really born again, you are not looking for an excuse to sin. I mean, know that right. I'm not looking for a reason to sin now. I'm not looking for a loophole in the word that will allow me to do something that folk been telling me been wrong for years now. But I'm going to get in this word and I'm searching this word. Not to edify myself. I'm trying to find a loophole that will allow me to. I want a wife and a girlfriend. Is there anything in here that as bad as I'm struggling and I got to get 10%? I don't think so. I'm looking for something in here that can tell me that it is my money. I'm looking for something. I'm looking for something to justify what pastor teaches is wrong. I'm looking for something that'll justify me wearing this. I want something that'll justify me looking like this. And then when folk want justification, they not only look in the word, but then they begin to search for preachers. That's the reason I'm not crazy. I understand that. For many of you, I'm not the only person you listening to. Everything I teach you, you weighing it up against what so-and-so say. I know he taught tonight that you should do such and such. But I'm going to see what Bishop so-and-so said about the same subject. And then you trying to compare us to. When the only thing I'm trying to do is get you to look like your daddy. But when you want to look like the devil, you're going to fight somebody that's trying to make you look like. Pastor, you ain't perfect. I know I ain't. I told you that earlier, remember? And I tell you that quite often for a reason. But I am filled with the Holy Ghost. I am not the man that I was 20 years ago. No way. Hold on, don't clap. When I look at my mindset right now, in reference to what excites me, It's not the same things that excited me 20 years ago. See, this reason most of us can't stay saved for more than a week. You let the wrong things excite you. But now notice, then he said, now number 2 trait. Now this is going to simplify a whole lot of folk who say they're a child of God. He said, nor is he who does not love his brother. Listen to what this man told the church. He said, whoever is amongst you that's not loving their brothers and sisters, you are a child of the devil. That's tough for a lot of us. Because we claim to be saved, but we got a funny way of showing love. We got our own way of loving folk. You know, so when you treat somebody wrong and somebody try to call you on it, you're not going to receive correction because you're going to say, that's just the way I am. But see, notice now, to break it down, to get this in them, y'all don't miss this now, to get this all the way in their spirit, he's going to go all the way back to the beginning of time to prove to them, don't miss this, that you can be in the same house, but not of the same father. To get them to see you can grow up together, but not be alike. You can hear the same word from the same daddy, yet one of you wants to do right while the other loves to do wrong. Watch, in the same house. This way you can have folk in the same church that don't love each other, but go to another church and they loving on members at another church and ain't loving on members at their own church. Because when it comes to loving folk, you sometimes find difficulty, challenges, loving people you got to be around all the time. You go out of your way for folk you don't know. But you do the very minimum for people. Since when he teaching this, he letting the church know at the very essence of who we are, being born again, we have love in us. For God is what? Love. It ain't easy to be who you really are, but it's hard to front, fake, and pretend. Genesis 4:8. Now Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass while they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and killed him. Notice that Cain talked with Abel. In other words, Cain had in his heart to do Abel harm, but he talked with Abel as if everything was all right. That's the reason even in the church, you can't just listen to what folks say. You better be looking at what they do, because love is an action word, not something that you memorize. Now, one writer said you need to do good to all people. But then to prove my point, he took it further and said, especially those that are of the household of faith. It is a certain way God requires you and I to treat one another. It needs to be mutual respect. Did you see that? Mutual. Because some folks so silly that they want respect without giving respect. See what need to happen tonight is that some of you need to lay aside them worldly ways that you got. Notice verse 9. Then the Lord said to Cain, where is Abel, your brother? He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? Tell your neighbor, Cain was being sarcastic. Could you imagine getting smart with God? God said, where is Abel? He said, am I, my brother Keith, am I responsible for Abel? Am I to be worried about what Abel doing? Knowing at the same time he killed Abel. But the lesson that God is teaching is that when you do your brother and sister wrong, though you may try to conceal it, because I require y'all to treat each other a certain kind of way, I see what you did. I heard what you said, and I don't like it at all. Because he goes on to tell Cain, he said, your brother Abel, blood is crying out to me. Tell your neighbor, you better watch what you do in secret as well as in public. Notice Leviticus. Boy, it's finna get good. Notice Leviticus. I'm trying to prove to you that from the beginning, God laid down certain laws for how his people were going to treat each other. Ain't that a good daddy? See, if you're a parent tonight, you done laid down certain laws in your house as to how siblings are going to treat one another. But if you're a jacked up mama and daddy, you don't mind seeing a brother beat down his sister. And that's all right with you, especially if it's your favorite one that's got the advantage anyhow. It's getting tight up in here. A good father wants to make sure that his children are treating each other right. Nobody should be mistreated on purpose and then not get dealt with. But some of you allow your children to treat others wrong, and you make excuses for why they do what they do. And you quiet right about now. Bam. That's what I say to you. Bam. Bullseye. Got you tonight. Y'all think I'm playing? Letting the little boy hit on his sisters hard, and then get mad at the girls if they hit him back. See, there's one way to break that up. Tell that sister next time he do that, you teach him a lesson. It'd be a long time before he draw his hand back at you. Leviticus 19:9. Basically, he was telling them, when you start gathering in your harvest, don't gather everything, but leave some for poor folk. Leave some for those that's less unfortunate than you. What was he teaching them? This is what God was instilling in them. You got to care about one another. He was instilling this in them. Don't go out there and gather everything, but have a heart for those that don't have nothing at all to gather. See, teaching them not to be selfish. Don't you get over on your brother. Do you know who do this? Preachers. Preachers. Go to Israel. Buy things for $1. Come back to their church and sell it to their own members for $20. I got a problem with that. Some of them will get stuff free and will sell it. See, he teaching them you should not oppress one another. That means to crush, to beat down, to take advantage of. You're not to do this to one another. Notice verse 17. Why are we not going to do that? Therefore you shall not oppress one another, but you shall fear who? You shall fear your God, for I am the Lord, who? Your God. Tell your neighbor, when you got to feel God in you, you can't do your brothers and sisters any kind of way. That's when God can get upset and withhold blessings when a church ain't treating each other right. That means two of y'all, silly folks up in here, can hold back blessings on the whole congregation because y'all hating on one another. And it be certain blessing that God want to just pour out on everybody. He said, I'm not going to do it because you got folk in there that's warring at each other. This good to me tonight. I say, it's good to me tonight. You don't roll your eyes at folk. You don't talk to people any kind of way. Listen, I don't care if you're a leader in this church and you talking to a non-leader. I ain't gave you the right to talk to nobody mean. Because I don't do it. Y'all deacons, but you ain't been given no authority to mistreat nobody because you're a deacon. The mother of the church ain't got no right treating nobody wrong just because she the mother. And she been saved 30 plus years. She still got to treat folk right. She still got to love folk. These ministers still got to love people.